coming to you from deep inside the bowels of a great big empty. Get ready for another episode of The Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
Hello, American families. Welcome to this week's episode of The Home Defense Show. I'm your host, Skip Coryell. And if you love your family, care about them deeply, and want to learn how to protect them in every facet of your life, then you've come to the right place. We have got a really good show for you today. We are going to be speaking with Tom Lambert. He's the president of Michigan Open Carry about a most unusual topic. We're going to be talking about the maze that can be called Michigan gun registration. You know, I hear so many different things about it. Well, you do have to do it, or you don't have to do it, or you have to do it here, but you don't have to do it there, that it just totally befuddles me. And in general, I don't like reading statutes. I don't like reading the law because I don't understand it. I think I agree with Winnie the Pooh. Remember A.A. Milne, right? Author A.A. Milne. Winnie the Pooh says, "For I am a bear of very little brain, and long words bother me." I'm like Winnie. You know, I'll read a statute, and then I'll get done and I'll go, okay, so what do I do? What does that mean? I don't know. I don't know what that means. And that's why I'm just so happy to have people like Tom Lambert who are smarter than I am. You know, apparently Tom is a bear, a very big brain, and I appreciate that because I don't like details. I do not like details at all. So, I'm a bear of very little brain. And Tom's going to straighten it out for us in segments 2 and 3 when he talks about the Michigan gun registration law, pistol registration. Do you got to do it or do you not got to do it? We're going to find out. All right, I'm sitting here. I am sipping some nice hot cocoa. You know, is it just me? Or does Michigan weather really suck? I mean, this is getting ridiculous, folks. It is officially March now, and the weather is supposed to be getting better. But I'm looking at the forecast over the next 10 days, and you're talking about single digits overnight. I think it's a little early to plant my garden. It's ridiculous. I'm 61 years old, so a lot of my friends are, retired, and they'll go down to Arizona or they'll go down to Florida, and they'll call me just to taunt me. And I'm thinking, with friends like you, who needs enemies? I mean, geez. And Glenn, yeah, I'm talking about you down in Florida. And Walt down in Arizona, shame on you. Shame, a big mighty shame. You're down there nice and warm and cozy, and I'm up here freezing my Watusi off. You should stay up here where you belong so you can freeze to death with the rest of us. But that's just me. Hey, spring is just around the corner. It's like less than 3 weeks away, like 2.5 weeks. It's going to be spring, according to the calendar. But we'll see. Hey, 2 more months, I will be out there. I will be out there hunting mushrooms. More like a month and a half. I'll be out there. I'll be looking for the Morchella angusticeps, the Morchella esculenta, and maybe a few verpas as well. If you don't know what I'm talking about, stay tuned. In about 6 weeks, we'll be out there. I love my fungus. Just love my fungus. But then I digress. Let's have a sip of hot cocoa. Nice and warm and hot. All right, folks. Great day in America. Been getting a little frustrated over the new federal House of Representatives that we have. You know, these people just seem crazy as loons to me. They just really, really do. Some of the stuff that they got coming out of there, I mean, they just passed a new federal gun control law, bill. It's still a bill. It's going to the Senate. Hopefully, there's enough common sense in the Senate to defeat that. And if that doesn't work and they pass it out of the Senate, then, hey, Donald Trump is our last hope. All right. You remember way back when Obama got elected, right? Everybody's thinking, oh, man, this is the end of the world as we know it. There's going to be a civil war. They're going to come and get our guns, and we're going to have to fight them. A lot of people are going to die, right? And I'm still of the opinion that if he thought he could have got away with taking our guns, he'd have done it in a heartbeat. And I think the liberals out there, the progressives, extreme progressives, the socialists, if they thought they could get away with it, they'd do it in a heartbeat. And I think these people are getting crazier and crazier and crazier. This AOC lady, man, she's just crazy as a loon. And not that bright. That's probably a good thing. But, I came across this article in the American Thinker. That's AmericanThinker.com, not AmericanStinker.com. Though, two different websites. And this article by William Gensert, and it's titled, America's Second Civil War Has Already Begun. Hey, if that's news to you, you want to stay tuned here. In an excellent article by Jeff Lukens here on American Thinker, he asked the question, is a second civil war coming? In reply, I say that America's second civil war has already begun. Its opening shots were fired by Barack Obama when he stated, we are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America. He certainly did transform it. We'll never be the same. Most of this country is center-right and never considered America a place that needed transformation. Most people can think of things they would change, but few believe the nation needs to be torn down and rebuilt. I agree. Obama failed, but the left soldiers on in its quest for a new America remade in their own image. When Obama went on his world apology tour, he wasn't apologizing for America. He was apologizing for Americans. This is the essence of this second civil war. Leftists are demigods who believe they are America and that anyone who does not believe in them cannot lay legitimate claim to this country as their own. Yes, this war has begun. The opening skirmish was the Obama presidency itself, which history will see as a failure, despite what the media wants us to believe in, the here and now. Sure, he passed Obamacare and Dodd-Frank, overregulated and ruled by executive dictate to great media acclaim. Yet, Obamacare and Dodd-Frank have been whittled away by legislation and judicial rulings, while Trump has prioritized deregulation and reversed many of Obama's illegal executive orders. Praise God. The war's second battle was the 2016 presidential election when Hillary Clinton, Obama's chosen successor, lost to a television personality whom very few took seriously as a candidate. I don't think I took him seriously as a candidate, not during the primaries. Trump won despite the Obama administration conspiring with the Clinton campaign to steal the election and has remained as president even as the conspiracy fundamentally transformed into a failed coup attempt to depose him. Trump's presidency has been the third battle, and with his string of successes, the battle is being won. This, despite near-universal acrimony and condemnation among the media, the Democrats, and the left. But what difference at this point does it make? Because these victories are Pyrrhic. As the eminent Michael Walsh said of the left, they never stop, they never sleep, they never quit. He's got that right. Democrats are chipping away at this nation with their policies. This is a war of attrition, and we Americans are being attrited. Is that attrited or attrited? I don't know. Doesn't matter. For example, their open borders policy is effectively importing a new electorate, one guaranteed to vote for them. The left agrees with Obama. There is nothing wrong with America. It's those damn Americans. So they are going to drown the conservative vote with new Democrats. It's the same with our policy of everything should be free. Why vote for someone who promises equal opportunity when someone else promises a better outcome? Nuclear winter became global warming, became climate change, became we want total control over everything. The reason why Democrat candidates for the presidency so quickly signed on to my Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal is its promise of comprehensive control over every aspect of our lives. Eliminating planes, trains, and automobiles will keep us close to our homes and jobs, or for those unwilling to work, in their basement enjoying their universal basic income. Dependent people without mobility are easier to control. That's true. The 2020 election looms as the next battle, and it will be hard fought because Democrats have a myriad of policies that may sound great but are really about control. They have always been masters of micturating down our leg and telling us it is raining. I'll let you figure out what micturating means. Yet they don't need to trick us into acquiescence, because even should Trump win without a complete reversal by the Democratic Party, a renewed free and fair media, and a return to the principles upon which this nation was founded, this war will continue, and it is only a matter of time before the left again wins the presidency or the House or the Senate or all three. You know, that's the problem, folks. How can you win against an enemy that never, ever gives up? These guys never give up. They never give in. They never slow down. Always going for the jugular. They don't eat their own. It's amazing. It's spiritual. It's like these people are demonically possessed. You know, they are empowered by Satan. All right. When that happens, this civil war will become hot because the Democrats are going to come for our guns. And armed citizenry is a free citizenry, and they can't have that. The third most populated nation with 330 million people, America has an estimated 350 million guns in circulation. Any effort to seize them will call for the total mobilization of our armed forces, city and state police, and the National Guard. People are not going to turn in their guns, and politicians who think they will do so are being naive. Well, some will turn them in, but a lot won't. Fighting will surely ensue as the forces of the regime go door to door to try to take them. Many of those empowered to confiscate weapons won't obey orders. Defections will be common, and there will be fighting in the streets, limited at first, but it will soon break out into open rebellion. The regime will become increasingly strident, and many states will refuse to comply, using Democratic-run sanctuary cities. As an example of state nullification of federal law, talk of secession will become rife. The ruling leftists will, of course, be surprised, and orders will be given to the remaining loyalist forces to put down the rebellion. In the end, the death toll will far exceed the 620,000 people who died in our first Civil War. To people who say it can't happen here, I say history is replete with examples of places that no longer exist where people believed it can't happen here. It can't happen here? Open your eyes. It has already begun. Well, he may have a point there. Right now we're fighting the cold Civil War, but it definitely could become hot. All they got to do is pass, gun control. That's always been the litmus test for me, folks, is when they start walking around, going door to door, taking people's guns, stealing people's guns under force of law at gunpoint. To me, that's the litmus test. That's when you need to rise up, take arms against a totalitarian government. But we're not there yet. The next battle, actually it's a daily battle, but the next big battle scheduled is the election of 2020. Do not become war-weary, folks. You got to stay tough. You got to get politically involved. You got to get out there. You got to do what's right. If not for yourself, hey, do it for the childrens, okay? Do it for your kids. Well, I got that off my chest. That's good, because we're coming up with Tom Lambert in segments 2 and 3. Tom is going to make all legal things clear to me. He's going to take all those big words, all that Latin crap, and he's going to make it understandable. I like that. So even though I am a bear of very little brain, Tom Lambert is going to make me intelligent, and I'm looking forward to that. All right, we got a 2-minute break coming up here. While we are away, check out our sponsors, firearmslegal.com, also elitefirearms.us, and also check out our newest sponsors, Center Shot Indoor Gun Range. All right, folks, this is Skip Coryell on the Home Defense Show. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
My name is Siege Coryell. Welcome to the Home Defense Show with my dad, Skip Coryell. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back.
This is Skip Coryell from the Home Defense Show, and I want you to have the very best handgun that money can buy. And that's why we recommend you visit Larry Jackson at Elite Firearms and Training. As a concealed carry instructor, I see people every week out on the range with guns they can't shoot properly because they didn't know what to buy. That will never happen at Elite Firearms and Training. Larry Jackson will personally fit you with your very own personal defense pistol. So call Larry Jackson today at 616-299-8715 or visit elitefirearms.us. Would you like to take your tactical and marksmanship training to the next level? If the answer is yes, you need to check out Center Shot Indoor Gun Range just south of Grand Rapids, conveniently located off US 131. Center Shot is one of the most advanced firing ranges in Michigan. Center Shot firing lanes have nearly 100 customizable shooting programs to make you better no matter what your skill level. Our advanced lanes allow a more immersive training experience to enhance your senses. Controlled lighting and target movement mean that you get the best practice and most fun out of Center Shot Indoor Gun Range. Memberships are available for as low as $150. Center Shot also offers a 10% discount to U.S. military veterans. So, no matter what the weather, hot, cold, or in between, Center Shot Indoor Gun Range is always a perfect 70 degrees. This is where I train every week, and so should you. Find out more by going to centershotgunrange.com or call them at 616-371-7468. Stay safe, and I'll see you at Center Shot Indoor Gun Range.
This is Colonel Danny Gillum. I host Frontlines of Freedom, a weekly syndicated military talk radio show. One of my co-hosts is Skip Coryell, the host of this show. We cover things that impact military and veteran communities, and we do it from the veteran's perspective. The show is broadcast across the nation and is also available as a podcast on our website, frontlinesoffreedom.com. Please join Skip and me weekly on Frontlines of Freedom.
Okay, folks, welcome back to the Home Defense Show. This is your host, Skip Coryell. Today we are speaking with Tom Lambert, president of Michigan Open Carry. Tom, welcome to the Home Defense Show.
That's good to talk to you again, Skip.
Well, yeah, Tom, seems like every couple of months we talk about some kind of issue because there's always something going on out there in the news, some kind of legal thing happening. So we very much appreciate your expertise and your willingness to come on the show.
Always happy.
All right. Well, Tom, for the benefit of those who haven't heard you yet, tell everyone, who is Tom Lambert?
Sure. I'm the president and legislative director for Michigan Open Carry. MOC, or Michigan Open Carry, is one of the firearm groups in the state of Michigan, and as you probably can figure out for yourselves, we generally focus on open carry, more specifically an openly carried holstered handgun. Now, that doesn't mean we necessarily say open carry and nothing else. No, a better way of going about it is saying we promote the general area of the Second Amendment through open carry and through open carry advocacy, through many other things. We don't just work on open carry, we work on tons of stuff related to the Second Amendment through the lens of open carry. We want everyone to prosper, whether you open carry, whether you concealed carry. It's just, this is our tool to benefit everyone.
Yeah, and I can see why we need a separate group for open carry, simply because concealed carry, it's already universally, well, not universally, but, it's socially accepted. It's into law, and open carry seems to be the people who are hassled more than concealed carriers, although not always.
Sure.
You never know what's going to happen. But
for those that like military analogies, we're attacking on many fronts.
Yes, absolutely. And I think we should too. I think we really should, where, one angle may not work where another angle might. So I think it's a great idea. I'm a life member of Michigan Open Carry. So where can people go to learn more about Michigan Open Carry, Tom?
We have a website, miopencarry.org. If you just Google us, you'll find us. We're also very heavy on Facebook. We have a Facebook page and a Facebook group. One of the things we use our Facebook group for is we encourage people to just ask questions. If you need questions on, hey, what's a good holster? Or, hey, what's a good way of carrying this firearm? Or, what are the laws surrounding this type of deal? Or, I have a situation, give me advice on that. That's what our group's for, is to promote discussion amongst the community, as well as just promote general Second Amendment issues. But again, online at miopencarry.org and on Facebook, as well as people can email us at you can find me at tlambert@miopencarry.org.
Awesome. Okay, I highly recommend to everyone, if you're thinking about open carrying, just to try it out, check out miopencarry.org. All right, Tom, the reason I have you on the show today is, I want to talk about the Michigan pistol registration law.
Sure.
I don't like it. I've never liked it. Doesn't make me feel warm and fuzzy. I don't understand why we have it, why we need it. And I'm hoping you can clear some of this up for me.
I'll do my best. And as we kind of talked about before, this is one of those issues where I said we branched out into other things. MOC has tackled the issue of registration very hard over the past couple of years. This is something that really interests me, not just for the policy of it and the politics of it, but the legal intricacies just really intrigue me personally.
Okay. Why do we register our guns? I don't understand why the government wants us to do that.
Well, I don't necessarily understand either, and so I don't know I'm a good person to answer that specific question. But in the state of Michigan, and for simplicity's sake, let's call it registration. The law doesn't call it registration, but for simplicity's sake, let's call it registration. Ever since, roughly 25, if I recall correctly, maybe in 1911, the state has wanted pistols, not all firearms, pistols, to have some sort of record associated with the person submitted to the state. The law we have now was first written in 1927, which repealed previous laws. It's been amended, as you might imagine any law would be amended, over the past, 92 years now, well, 92 in this September. It's been amended by many different parties with many different interests. It's taken many different forms. And most recently in 2008, effective early 2009, there was a significant change that, in my opinion, changed the fundamental structure of how the system worked. But in general, what people know, it's not necessarily correct, but what people know is your pistol has to be registered with the state. Mm-hmm. It's more complex with that, but that tends to be what people know, and we can use that as a starting point.
Wow. Has it already been like 10 years since they went from the safety inspection to the, what now they call it a pistol sales record? Is that the right terminology?
Yep, they had the pistol sales record before that. They just kind of, well, I guess the way you could describe it is from 1927 to 2009, they had two things that you had to do, and both of those things would result in paperwork being submitted to the state. You had to first get a purchase permit to get your pistol, and then once you got the pistol, you had to take it in to get it safety inspected. Mm-hmm. And, of course, that safety inspection had nothing to do with the safety and operability of the firearm. They just wanted to write down the serial number. Yeah. That's all it really was about. But nonetheless, it was called a safety inspection.
Yeah.
In 2008, you gotta remember in that time, the National Instant Criminal Check System had been created. Anytime you went to a federally licensed dealer, you were already getting a background check. The state had two times when you got a pistol, when paperwork be created or sent to the state. I think the state looked at it and said, why do we have this redundancy? Why do we have these safety inspections that really aren't safety inspections? Why don't we just say you get a purchase permit that licenses you to purchase and acquire a pistol, and then once you do that, you submit paperwork to the state. We do it once instead of twice. And that's when we eliminated the safety inspection in 2008. Now later, we did some extra stuff that if you got from a pistol from an FFL, then you didn't necessarily need that license in the first place. So to be clear, we're talking about some laws that have changed a little bit since then.
Mm-hmm.
But in 2008, we eliminated the safety inspections. We reduced the amount of paperwork to one set.
Okay.
But what we did there is, this is important, arguably, while we had safety inspections, arguably all pistol possession was recorded. Whether we called it registration, whether we didn't call it registration, there's actually a court in the 60s that said calling it registration was fundamentally inaccurate, so much so to the point where it was a violation of someone's rights to charge them with failing to register. That's pretty significant. So,
yeah.
But arguably you could say that, well, whatever we call it, fundamentally it works where all pistol possession was recorded because the standard was owns or comes into possession of. That's pretty broad. And
it dropped out of the sky and landed in my holster.
If you have it, if you already own it, or if you come into possession of, it doesn't care how you come into possession of. If you come into possession of, you had to do something that resulted in paperwork being submitted to the state,
mm-hmm.
AKA, for layman's terms, registration.
Right. So.
However, in 2008, when we eliminated the safety inspection, the standard changed, and it changed from owns or comes into possession of to purchases or otherwise acquires.
Okay.
Well, wait a minute. Now it's not just possession of. Now it's actually acquiring something. And acquiring something, well, that's not as broad as owns or comes into possession of, especially when you tie it to purchasing.
Mm-hmm.
And the best way to describe that change is going from a possession-based system to a transaction-based system.
Okay.
While registration is very uncommon among the United States, and that's something that a lot of people in Michigan don't understand. They think this is the norm. Oh, of course, you register your firearm. No, it is not the norm. But in the states that actually do have some sort of registration, they're all in the minority, but of those states that do have some sort of a system, most of them are transaction-based, not possession-based. They want to know what transactions occur in the state, not necessarily recording every bit of possession.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the areas where that becomes an important distinction are people moving into the state.
Yeah.
So if I have a bunch of firearms that I've lawfully acquired in Ohio, and I move from Ohio to Michigan, have I purchased or otherwise acquired in Michigan? No, I have not. Under the old law, would I own or come into possession of? Yeah, I own them as I cross the border. But under the new standard in 2008, do I purchase or otherwise acquire? I have done neither of those things as I cross the border from Ohio to Michigan. And that's one of the best ways I found to illustrate that this is not a possession system.
Okay.
It's a transactional system.
Okay.
But now that's just the fundamental basics of it, the foundation of it. We haven't even gotten into the thing I think you really want to get into.
well, before we move on, that just raises questions with me. So what you're saying is, if I live in West Virginia, I'm a resident there, and I move to Michigan, I don't have to register my pistols that I owned in West Virginia.
Even more to what you just said, to underscore why I'm not directly answering your question, the paperwork that we call the registration paperwork, the law is very clear that the seller must fill it out and the purchaser has 10 days to turn it in.
Yeah.
And the law defines both of those terms, as purchaser and seller, as involving, quote, another person.
Right.
When it comes to interpreting a statute, the precedent going back many, many decades is very, very clear. That when the law defines a term, that provided definition controls. And that when the law writes something out, the legislature writes something out in the law, every word must be given meaning. No word or portion of a law can be interpreted as nugatory, as they say, or basically void. They can't just say, well, those extra words they added in, they don't mean anything. No, every word must be given meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Next, making a material false statement on these forms is punishable by up to a 4-year felony.
Wow.
And so if we are to say that you are not the seller because you did not get from another, or you did not give to another person, or you are not the purchaser as because you did not acquire from another person, and if we were to say that calling yourself one of those two things when you're not is a material false statement, such as moving from West Virginia, in your instance, to Michigan, you have neither purchased nor sold, and if you write down yourself as both the buyer and seller, as many police stations tell you to do, arguably that's making a material false statement.
Mm-hmm.
So to sum that up, one could argue not only do you not have to fill out the paperwork, but it would be a felony for you to do so.
Wow. It sounds like
now,
between a rock and a
my
hard
reading
spot
of
there.
Yeah, exactly right. When it only underscores that, look, this is a transactional-based system. If we want to try and shoehorn all possession into it, that's where we get into these questions and these issues of, you can't, because I have to commit a felony in order for you to shoehorn me into this system.
Mm.
But if it's a transaction-based system that we have in Michigan, where we're only concerned with transactions that happen in Michigan, actually, this makes total sense and everything falls into place and works just fine.
Yeah.
But I wanted to underscore that that's my interpretation of it, and it's the interpretation of many attorneys, and it goes even well beyond that. But for something happening just yesterday that we talked about before starting the recording that I think we'll talk about here in a little bit, you have to be careful about what you do, and sometimes even when the law is explicitly clear, it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah, for sure. We're speaking with Tom Lambert, president of Michigan Open Carry, about the Michigan registration process that's not really registration. Am I saying that right?
Yeah. Well, yes. In fact, whenever I type registration now, I put it in quotation marks.
Yeah.
whether I'm writing something that I suggest that attorney put in his brief, or whether I'm writing on Facebook explaining to somebody or an email, I always put registration in quotation marks now.
Yeah. But, you can understand why, the average Joe could be a little confused by all of this.
If you're an average Joe, or you consider yourself an average Joe and you're confused by this, do not feel bad.
Yeah.
Non-average Joes, judges, attorneys are confused as all get out by this.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're even talking about, I have people in my concealed carry classes, and they'll raise their hand and say, well, my dad just died, a year ago, and, he left me these guns. Do I have to register these things? So what is your answer to that question, Tom?
In my interpretation, there is no such thing, and there's nothing in Michigan law that requires a pistol to be registered in order to be lawfully possessed. The way I interpret it, and I'm not an attorney, and I'm not a judge, I'm not a prosecutor, lawful acquisition and registration, again using just a simple term here, are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
If you fail to do the first one, if you acquire unlawfully, that is a misdemeanor in the state of Michigan. If you fail to subsequently submit paperwork, if it's required, that is a $250 civil infraction.
Okay.
And so lawful acquisition is a complicated question. Failing to submit paperwork, if it's required, that's a $250 civil infraction. And while some people might say, well, then the pistol's forfeit, well, I argue it's not, based on plain reading of state law, as well as a recent decision from the United States Supreme Court in Timms versus Indiana. that held basically seizing property where the value of it exceeds the maximum possible fine you could receive for an offense is an unconstitutionally excessive fine, effectively. Basically, in that case, the maximum possible fine that the guy could have received was $10,000, and the police seized a $40,000 vehicle from him. The United States Supreme Court unanimously held that was unconstitutionally excessive.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So here, we have the $250 fine, and if they wanted to seize a pistol valued at most likely more than $250, I would argue, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm not, but I would certainly argue that that would be an unconstitutionally excessive fine.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense to me, unless maybe it's a Caltech. But yeah. It's just kind of complicated, it seems like. But you know what?
And we haven't even gotten into the Attorney General opinion.
That's right. You know what? We got one segment left. We're going to try and nail that down. Tom, we got a 2-minute break here. Listeners, while I'm away, go ahead and check out our sponsors, firearmslegal.com/Midwest Tactical, also elitefirearms.us, and our newest sponsor, Center Shot Indoor Gun Range. And of course, check out miopencarry.org. When we come back, we're going to be speaking with Tom some more about this Attorney General's opinion by Bill Schuette. This is Skip Coryell on the Home Defense Show. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Coryell, the Home Defense Show. Always use guns safely and wisely. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Hey folks, I want to tell you about my book, Civilian Combat, the Concealed Carry Book. More and more people across the country are seeing the dangers in society and are deciding to carry concealed to protect themselves and their families. My new book lays it out step by step. It'll teach you how to protect and defend the ones you love. Get the benefit of 17 years of teaching experience and a lifetime of training for this important role in society and in your family. You can get Civilian Combat real easy. Just go to Amazon.com, search on Skip Coryell Civilian Combat, and it'll pop right up there. Don't put it off any longer. Get Civilian Combat, the Concealed Carry Book by yours truly, Skip Coryell.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if life was like the movies and the good guys always won? In today's world, if you're forced to use your firearm to protect yourself, you will need protection. Firearms Legal Protection is here for you. FLP provides you with seasoned, experienced attorneys that handle your criminal and civil matters as a result of you protecting yourself. FirearmsLegal.com provides its members with uncapped attorney's fees, bail bond protection, and coverage in all 50 states. We are not a reimbursement plan. You can access uncapped attorney's fees for as low as $10 a month. Firearms Legal members are provided with educational services, training videos, and access to our vast national attorney network. While you're protecting yourself, let Firearms Legal protect you.
Listen up, folks. This is important. There are plenty of legal protection services out there, but none will protect you as well as Firearms Legal Protection. This is the one I use and the only one I recommend. Visit firearmslegal.com/Midwest Tactical and protect your family now. Would you like to take your tactical and marksmanship training to the next level? If the answer is yes, you need to check out Center Shot Indoor Gun Range just south of Grand Rapids, conveniently located off US 131. Center Shot is one of the most advanced firing ranges in Michigan. Center Shot firing lanes have nearly 100 customizable shooting programs to make you better no matter what your skill level. Our advanced lanes allow a more immersive training experience to enhance your senses. Controlled lighting and target movement mean that you get the best practice and most fun out of Center Shot Indoor Gun Range. Memberships are available for as low as $150. Center Shot also offers a 10% discount to U.S. military veterans. So, no matter what the weather, hot, cold, or in between, Center Shot Indoor Gun Range is always a perfect 70 degrees. This is where I train every week, and so should you. Find out more by going to CenterShotGunRange.com or call them at 616-371-7468. Stay safe, and I'll see you at Center Shot Indoor Gun Range. Okay, folks, welcome back to the Home Defense Show. This is your host, Skip Coryell. Today we are speaking with Tom Lambert, president of Michigan Open Carry, and we are trying to, walk through the minefield that is pistol, quote-unquote, registration here in the state of Michigan. Tom, I think people, it's like in my concealed carry classes, right? I'll go through, use of deadly force. When are you legally justified in using deadly force? And I'll go through all the different scenarios, totality of the circumstances, all this stuff, all the gray areas. And then their eyes just kind of glaze over. And, I know what they're thinking. They're thinking, just tell me when I can shoot and when I can't. But like with this pistol registration, it's not that simple.
Yeah, it really isn't. And it's unfortunate. We're working to make it better, but as it's now, it's really not that simple.
Yeah. All right. Well, Tom, we got another segment here. Go ahead and talk about the Attorney General's opinion that we alluded to in the last segment. What is that all about?
Sure. We were working on something for a number of years, and one of the things that we based our statement of nothing in Michigan law requires that a pistol be registered in order for it to be lawfully possessed was an exception in Michigan law. And this is an exception that has been around. Remember I said in 1927 they wrote the law that everything still today is based off of? Well, in 1927, in Section 12 of the law, they included an exception to any, at that time it was any person holding a license to carry a concealed pistol issued by another state. Mm-hmm. Well, we know the definition of person, and also issued by another state, and such a person was exempt from the entire law. They could do everything. They could have machine guns, they could have explosives.
Oh, I like that.
So if you're an Ohio resident...
Yeah, it sounds fun.
Or if you're an Ohio resident and licensed in Ohio, you were exempt from everything. Well, then the question becomes, well, what about a Michigan resident licensed by, say Arizona? And just for your listeners, Arizona, you can go get if you're licensed in Michigan, if you have Michigan CPL, $60, you can just have them mail a form to you. You fill out the form, $60, fingerprint card. You can get a license from Arizona. I have one. It was very easy. According to plain reading, am I exempt from the law that says I have to get a purchase permit and then register after I do? Or that if I have a Michigan CPL or purchase from an FFL, as the current law is today, I don't have to get that purchase permit, but then I do have to fill out some paperwork and send it in, which does the exact same thing. But if I don't have to get that license, am I exempt from everything because I hold an Arizona license or a license issued by another state? That's the way the law is worded. That's what it says. Mm-hmm. But the problem becomes is people say, no, that's crazy. That's not the intent of the legislature. It doesn't work that way. I know it says that, but it doesn't work that way, and we shouldn't trust it. Ultimately, neither side is 100% right until the court kind of decides which way they want to politically steer things. And in truth is, in 1997, the court steered it against us. However, in 2000, the legislature, when we enacted shall issue, the legislature changed the law. And they changed the portion pertaining to concealed pistols to a resident of another state licensed by that state does not need a Michigan CPL to carry a concealed pistol. And that's what everybody knows. Michigan only recognizes resident licenses. That's where that comes from.
Okay.
But that's Section 12A. That's Section 12. In the exact same bill, they amended Section 12. Remember I said it said person? They changed person to United States citizen, but they left everything else the same. And before the shall issue bill, those two sections were worded the exact same way. So they changed one way, and they changed another way. Well, that's very, very clear legislative intent that the two sections are to work differently. Everything in that speaks to statutory construction says that those two sections are to be interpreted differently. I mean, you can't get it much more clear. This, if they had been amended in different acts, maybe there'd be an argument. Mm-hmm. But since they were amended in the exact same bill, literally a page apart from each other, in different manners, there's no argument you can make to say that they work the same way. And we took that to the Attorney General's office. And after a a lot of back and forth with them because they kept bringing things up. Well, what about this case? And we said, no, the law changed. Oh, they look at the law, and what about this? No, this changed here. And they didn't want to do it, I think, but they didn't have any out left because we cornered them with, this is what it says in a court, and based on all this precedent, this is what you have to say it says. Mm-hmm. Eventually, in Attorney General Opinion 7304, you can go find it online, they effectively said, yep, the law says what it says. That Section 12, yes, it applies to a Michigan resident holding a license to carry a concealed pistol issued by another state. And yes, Section 12 does exempt from the requirement to get a license before you purchase a pistol and fill out all the subsequent paperwork. So in layman's terms, for anyone who haven't glazed over yet, does that mean you're exempt from registration? That's what I believe it means, yes. I believe it means exactly that.
Okay. All right. Well, Tom, I very much want to believe all of that. You know, I really, really do. I have a non-resident permit from Utah. So, you know, but quite frankly, I think I've got like 20 pistols. They're all registered. I mean, it's just, you know, but what you're saying now is that, hey, I can go out, I can buy another pistol, and I don't have to fill out that pistol sales record. I don't have to turn it in, and I can keep that gun, carry that gun, and according to the Attorney General's office, I am in compliance with Michigan state law.
That's my interpretation of it, and that's my interpretation of what the Attorney General says. Now, keep in mind, Attorney General opinions are not binding upon the courts. So the courts could theoretically go a different way, and when you apply politics to courts, and keep in mind that all of our judges are elected, they're all politicians, and as I've experienced rather painfully lately, not all of our courts necessarily like us and want to be honest with our arguments. There's always a possibility that a court could say, no, the Attorney General is wrong because, well, we don't frankly like it.
How often does that happen, Tom?
Well, it's funny you mention that. As we kind of talked about beforehand, I was just in Wayne County Circuit yesterday on a case, a gun case that I'm helping out with. And after all this briefing, lots of detail in the briefs, going through lots of different things, we got to oral arguments. Both attorneys do oral arguments. The judge says, okay, I'm siding with the city. Nothing in state law allows a CPL holder to possess a pistol registered to somebody else. All right, we're done. That is literally all the judge said. That wasn't what was at issue in the case, but the judge said that to rule against the people I was with for the city. And as you know, Skip, that is utterly untrue. Mm-hmm. It has been well established, and I don't know anyone that is arguing otherwise, that in 2006, the legislature, Senator Rick Jones even wrote the bill, added a portion to the same Section 12 that we've been talking about that says that a CPL holder can possess a pistol that is owned by another. Mm-hmm. And everybody knows that. All the police know it. All the courts know it. Everybody in the gun community knows it, that if you have a CPL, you can possess a pistol belonging to another person. Yeah. And yet, this judge just, even though it was in the brief that this could happen too, and it wasn't even the issue that was being argued, just said, screw it, I'm going to say this 10-second thing and throw the case out, or throw the case away. So at the end of the day, I can tell you what the law says. I can show you what the law says. I can tell you what I think the law says, and it can be very, very clear. But at the end of the day, I cannot guarantee anything. And so what that means is, this is in MOC, we often say that what the law says and what the best course of action for a person to take can be two completely different answers. While we talk about what the law says, we're not necessarily telling you what to do. It's up to you to make the best decision based on your specific circumstances. For me, you can find a video online on MOC's YouTube channel of me burning my registration paperwork. I'm not shy about this. Mm-hmm. I have multiple unregistered pistols. And I am very, very confident in my interpretation. I'm very, very confident in my ability to fight for this interpretation, especially with the Attorney General opinion out there.
Yeah.
If you don't want the hassle, if you would just rather suck it up and do some things that you don't want to do just to make sure you're okay, that is your decision to make.
Mm-hmm.
My job is only to say, this is what's out there, this is how I read it. You make the decision that's best for you.
Well, and that's one of the reasons I like you, Tom, because you're willing to go out and do what I don't want to do, quite frankly, and if they come and if they cite you now, because it's going to be on the air, if they come and they cite you, then it'll go through the court system, and once it's been through the court system, I mean, it could go to district circuit, up to the appellate Supreme Court of Michigan, then it becomes case law, correct?
Yep. And there's two things to bring up here. One, I said I'm not shy about it. It's already online publicly. We posted on Facebook a number of times. I've sent it to my local police department. I've sent it to my county prosecutor. That was a long time ago. Nothing's ever come of it. I've even followed up with them afterwards, and they have no intention of doing anything with it. And the second thing is, what you brought up is part of the reason why groups exist, like MOC, any other group, because not every single person is in the best position to fight for every single issue. And so what we can do is we can come together as a group of people where some person is in a good position to fight, and because we fight as a group, we hopefully make progress for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's another good reason to join a group like Michigan Open Carry, because there are definitely strength in numbers, and there's strength in how much money you have too. You guys have do you have a nonprofit where you collect money to go out and fight cases like this?
MOC is a state nonprofit, and we are a 100% volunteer-based organization. If you go to miopencarry.org, you can donate to the organization. You can donate just specifically to our legal fund if you want, and 100% of what we bring in goes to fight for the cause. None of our members receive a salary. I don't even reimburse my mileage when I go places or pay for my own parking, because we need every dollar that we can get to continue fighting for the cause. And so 100% of what we bring in goes to fight for the cause.
Yeah. All right. So, well, to recap this, based on what you've told me, in my mind, I think it's fairly safe for me to not register my next pistol purchase. And I'm getting ready to make a purchase quite soon now. My next question is, let's say I travel to Illinois or some other state. Is it possible that there are conflicting laws in other states where I could get in trouble there by carrying an unregistered gun, even if I have my Michigan CPL and we have reciprocity with them?
I'm no expert on laws from another state, but I cannot think of a situation where whether or not a pistol is registered in Michigan would have an effect on whether or not you can lawfully possess the pistol in another state.
Yeah.
It would most likely be, can you lawfully possess it under that state's laws, not can you lawfully possess it under Michigan law.
Okay. All right. Well, we have, I think, successfully navigated the shark-infested waters of pistol, quote-unquote, registration here in Michigan.
Can I get to one more thing real quick?
I think you should, yes.
I understand a lot of people are going, wow, this is a lot to digest. It doesn't sound clear to me. I don't know what I should do. If I were new to this, that's exactly what I'd be saying. Michigan Open Carry has a history of being at the tip of the spear on issues like this. And it all started with Open Carry almost 10 years ago now. A long time ago, some people said, you know what? The law says we should be able to open carry. And so they started open carrying. And a lot of people said, no, don't do it. That's not what the law says. And there were problems in the beginning. But nowadays, open carry is just accepted. Everybody just understands it's a given. Of course it's lawful. That's not the way it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Openly carrying in the concealed pistol-free zone in the back of your CPL, same thing. No, I know the law says that, but don't do it, and that's crazy, and it's not going to work like that. Well, that's another given today. And I can keep going on a couple of other things that MOC has worked on over the years where people have said in the gun community, no, I know that's what the law says, but that's not how it's going to work, and don't do it, but nowadays it's a given.
Yeah.
Of course, that's not to say that that's going to work that way every single time for us. But the only way we're going to see if it does work and actually make progress is by pushing forward and giving it a try.
Yeah.
And that's why I am not shy about this. I'm very confident this is correct. I'm doing it myself. And personally, as far as I'm concerned, if someone is going to have a problem, I would prefer it be me than anyone else. I haven't had any issues by now, and I think everything's going to be just fine. But, of course, I most certainly cannot guarantee it.
So, 5 years from now, we'll be looking back and thinking, that was an interesting interview that we did, but hey, it's over, it's old hat, it's settled. And I think you're probably right, Tom, on this one, and I'm certainly glad of that. Okay, I think Attorney General Opinion 7304. It's straight in my mind. It's clear in my mind. Question, we have a new Attorney General now. Is it going to be revisited?
Oh, I don't want to predict what this loose cannon is going to do.
Okay.
I mentioned having some problems in writing the opinion because, well, what about the court case? No, the law has changed since that court case and moving the court case, and eventually we cornered them, and then they couldn't come up with any other excuses, so they had to admit we were right. Even under Bill Schuette, wait, isn't he pro-gun? Yes, and the reason I bring that up is because the Attorney General's office isn't just the Attorney General. There are a lot of people within the office who are career staffers who don't necessarily favor one political party or political side of the spectrum or the other, or do favor one's political side of the spectrum or the other, but are still career people there. And so the Attorney General opinion process, it actually goes through a board, and a lot of people work on it. But at the end of the day, the Attorney General is supposed to still be in charge. And while I would like to think that the people there would stay true to their word, that they don't like contradicting themselves in future opinions, I can't necessarily guarantee that Dana Nessel would do the same. So who knows? But at the end of the day, the law says what it says.
Right.
And the rules of statutory construction have been there for a long time. And she can't change the law. She might be able to say this opinion was wrong, but what is she going to base that on?
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Tom, I'm really glad that you enjoy this kind of stuff. I abhor legalese. It's all Greek to me. You'd say it's all Latin, but I don't understand it readily. I have to wade through it, so I want to thank you for your patience in taking me by the hand and helping me understand what this is all about. So before you go, Tom, tell us one more time, how can people find out about Michigan Open Carry?
Sure, we're at miopencarry.org. You can just also Google for Michigan Open Carry, or find us on Facebook. We have a Facebook page and a Facebook group.
Awesome. All right, Tom. We are out of time now, but thank you very much for being on the Home Defense Show today.
Thanks, Skip.
All right, folks, we got another 2-minute break. While we are away, check out miopencarry.org. And then also go ahead and check out our sponsors, firearmslegal.com/Midwest Tactical, as well as elitefirearms.us, and also Center Shot Indoor Gun Range. This is Skip Coryell on the Home Defense Show. When we come back, I'll be telling you what I really think about all this. Stay tuned. We will be right back.
Welcome to my dad's Home Defense Radio show. You're gonna love it.
Hey folks, I want to tell you about my book, Civilian Combat, the Concealed Carry Book. More and more people across the country are seeing the dangers in society and are deciding to carry concealed to protect themselves and their families. My new book lays it out step by step. It'll teach you how to protect and defend the ones you love. Get the benefit of 17 years of teaching experience and a lifetime of training for this important role in society and in your family. You can get Civilian Combat real easy. Just go to Amazon.com, search on Skip Coryell Civilian Combat, and it'll pop right up there. Don't put it off any longer. Get Civilian Combat, the Concealed Carry Book by yours truly, Skip Coryell.
This is Colonel Danny Gillum. I host Frontlines of Freedom, a weekly syndicated military talk radio show. One of my co-hosts is Skip Coryell, the host of this show. We cover things that impact military and veteran communities, and we do it from the veteran's perspective. The show is broadcast across the nation and is also available as a podcast on our website, frontlinesoffreedom.com. Please join Skip and me weekly on Frontlines of Freedom.
This is Skip Coryell from the Home Defense Show, and I want you to have the very best handgun that money can buy. And that's why we recommend you visit Larry Jackson at Elite Firearms and Training. As a concealed carry instructor, I see people every week out on the range with guns they can't shoot properly because they didn't know what to buy. That will never happen at Elite Firearms and Training. Larry Jackson will personally fit you with your very own personal defense pistol. So call Larry Jackson today at 616-299-8715 or visit elitefirearms.us.
Skip, it's Armed America time. Take us there, dude.
All of us here at Frontlines of Freedom want our listeners to get trained and get armed in that order. We fully support the right to keep and bear arms for all law-abiding families, and we encourage you to find out about the laws governing use of deadly force in your state and follow them to the letter. And of course, don't forget to follow the rules of safety and common sense whenever you're carrying a firearm to protect the ones you love. What's the story this week, Colonel?
Well, dining out one night with his teenage sons, an armed citizen was called on to protect the innocent. In Birmingham, Alabama, the family was leaving a McDonald's at closing time. As the manager was unlocking the door to let him out, a masked man pushed his way into the restaurant and began firing at everyone inside. The attacker's gunfire hit the armed citizen and one of his sons before he pulled his own concealed firearm and shot back. Police and EMS arrived on the scene to take the three individuals to the hospital, where the criminal later died from his injuries.
Thanks, Colonel. This is certainly a harrowing scenario and one that could render many people unable to defend themselves and their family. In a situation like this, where an active shooter has already shot you and a loved one, you are left with no alternative but to return heavy and accurate fire and to do so as quickly as possible. Here are a few observations for your consideration. 1. Closing time is when many shootings like this occur. Always operate at a heightened state of awareness when leaving a building and entering a transitional space like a dimly lit parking lot. Look out the door or window before exiting to make sure it's safe. 2. Return fire immediately. Every time the shooter presses his trigger, someone you love can die. In active shooter scenarios, time is of the essence, as every time you hear a gunshot, someone was just killed or wounded. Get it straight in your own mind that you should not hesitate. When people have already been shot and you are still being shot, you will not get in trouble with the law, so put that idea out of your head. 3. Fight through your injuries. No matter how bad your wounds are, even if they are mortal, you have to keep fighting. In this case, he had his family to protect, and the only thing worse than your own death is the death of your loved ones. Keep fighting to the very end and never give up. As long as you are fighting, you are saving innocent lives. And finally, carry a personal trauma kit on your person or inside your car. You never know when you may have to plug a bullet hole in yourself, a loved one, or even a stranger. The kit should include a tourniquet, Israeli bandage, tape, airway tube, rubber gloves, and some quick clot. And get some emergency medical training so you know how to use this equipment. Also learn CPR and basic first aid. This father did a great job engaging the enemy and fighting through his injuries. Because of his courage and quick thinking, innocent lives were saved, and there is one less bad guy harming our families. Get some more training, and you can do the same for your family.
Well said, Skip.
Well, okay, folks, this is Skip Coryell on Home Defense Show. Something very interesting happened during those last two segments. My hot chocolate is no longer hot. And you know, that tells you about my my very little brain, doesn't it? I mean, here I am with this educated guy, guy going to law school, right? He's using all these big words, these lofty concepts. And how do I respond to that? My hot chocolate is getting cold. Well, at least you know the kind of guy you're dealing with. I got done listening to Tom, and he's explaining all these lofty, legal concepts to me. And when we got off the air, I'm talking to him off air, and he says, "Well, so did you understand all of that?" And of course, I lied to him. I said, "Of course I do. Yeah, of course I understand all that." I don't think it's technically a lie if you're lying to a lawyer. Maybe not. I mean, I'll have to check that out. I don't know if there's a law on that. But, I feel more like Winnie the Pooh now than I did before talking to Tom Lambert. But, I kind of understand it, but I kind of don't. It's like I understand it enough so I'm not going to register the next gun. What I understand is that if I get in trouble for it, I'll go, worst case scenario is I go to court, I go through the whole system, and, I'll do okay. And I'm okay with that. I mean, I've always been an activist at heart. But hey, you guys got to do what you got to do, right? If you're not willing to take any chances, then go ahead and register those guns. Go ahead, bend the knee, kiss the ring. I just had to say that. I just had to do it. You know that I did. Hey, don't worry. But if you got a little bit of a rebel in you, go ahead and get that non-resident concealed carry permit. I got mine from Utah. Tom said he has his from Arizona. Go ahead. Rebel. Stand up. Do something rowdy, okay? Just do something rowdy. It's not like they're going to kill you or anything, right? What do you say? It was a $250 fine? I can handle that. All right. But, again, I want to leave you with this quote from A.A. Milne, because I am a bear of very little brain. Winnie the Pooh says, "When you are a bear of very little brain, and you think of things, you find sometimes that a thing which seemed very thingish inside you is quite different when it gets out into the open and has other people looking at it." I have no idea what he's talking about. So it's like, I don't understand Tom Lambert. I don't understand Winnie the Pooh. I am a bear of microscopic brain. Call me stupid. Okay? All I know is my hot chocolate. It's cold. I need to warm it up in a microwave. But it still tastes good. All right, folks. Well, next week, who do we have? I believe we're going to have Mark Walters, the host of Armed American Radio. I think he's on 27 gazillion stations nationwide. The Armed American Radio, right? Successful author. I think last time we had him on, we were talking about grilling with guns. You can check out that episode. I love grilling. And you know what? And in another month, even up here in Michigan, we will be in official grilling weather. It's going to be April in a month, right? So, hey, get your favorite meat, get your favorite vegetables, grill them all. If it's not nailed down, if it doesn't move, if it can't get away from you, you need to grill it. All right. Mark Walters, Armed American Radio, next week on the Home Defense Show. Well, okay, folks. That about wraps it up for this week's episode of the Home Defense Show. Until next week, remember your purpose in life is to find something greater than yourself and serve it. Always remember, God, family, country, in that order. It's important how you live, but it's equally important how you die. Your family and the ones you love need your protection, so train, always train, stay alert, stay alive. Until next week on the Home Defense Show, this is your host, Skip Coryell. God bless you, God bless your family, and God bless America.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Home Defense Show. Now, get out there and protect the ones you love. We'll see you next week with more of the best in home defense.
Bye-bye, boys! Have fun storming the castle!